Hello, and welcome to Metroid, the NES original. Well, no, not really. I already did a playthrough of this video or this game for the channel. No, my list of the top 10 favorite games of all time. Since I'm talking about it a lot on Twitch video game streams and in other videos, figured why not? I mean, most of this is going to be just the title screens of the games. Since a lot of these I either already have done full playthroughs of or plan to at some point in the near future, if at all possible. I mean, two of the games on this list ain't gonna be possible to do a playthrough of for the channel anytime soon. But anyways, yeah. At number 10, the first Metroid game, and like I said in my playthrough of it, it's pretty much a tie between the original here and the Zero Mission remake. Both versions have their negative and their plus sides. They're good and bad things. For the original, it's the beam gun weapons not stacking, so you can't have ice beam and wave beam at the same time, which means that towards the end of the game you got to go back and downgrade your wave beam to the ice beam, or you can just not get the wave beam at all since it's not a requirement in this original game. But yeah, the original, the remake, I don't like the added linearity where originally in this game there was none, or very little, if any. I mean, so yeah, it's pretty much a tie for the two. And I play this a lot because this one is the one that's available on 3DS Virtual Console and Switch NES Online. The Zero Mission remake, you know, isn't on any, hasn't been re-released since when? Yeah, I mean it might have been on the Wii or the Wii U Virtual Console, but I never had any of those two, either one of those two consoles, so I don't know. Anyways, at number nine, At number 9, Portrait of Ruin. Another game I've already done a playthrough of, and I'm currently, as of right now, still uploading videos for that playthrough. My favorite Castlevania game, by far. One of the Metroidvania style Castlevania games that I like more, anyways. Don't really like the original platformer games. Cheap Deathsylvanias, as I used to call them. Besides, I'm more of a fan of the Metroidvania style games anyway, whether it's Castlevania or Time Spinner or Ritual of the Night, which is kind of a spin-off Castlevania, but and in my opinion, what sets this over the other Castlevania Metroidvania games, Aria of Sorrow, Dawn of Sorrow, Harmony of Dissonance, is they have two characters you can play as, either Jonathan or Charlotte, or both. Side quests, some of them are kind of pointless, but some good ones. And it's a little bit longer without being overly milked like Dragon Quest VII, which is one of the longest Dragon Quest games only because they didn't know when to end it, in my opinion. Could have cut some of those chapters out of Dragon Quest VII, and it still would have been just as good, if not better, for their absence. But, yeah. I mean, I like Dragon Quest VII, don't get me wrong. It's one of my favorites in that franchise. Anyways, okay, now we're getting repeat. We've already shown this. Yeah. All right. At number 8, another game I've already done a playthrough of for the channel. Granted, this one was just going to be a 20-minute review, but with how much I've always liked this game, just couldn't stop playing it, and that review ended up being a full playthrough. But yeah. Again, this game had an impact on gaming, in general at the time, showing that video games could be more than just, beat the high score, get the high score, beat the level and hurry, and like Mario games, which are good games, but don't get me wrong, but this is one of the games that helped show video games could be more than that they could be epic adventures. And on the personal scale, this is the game I've played by far more than any other game ever. Yeah. So if I was rating the games by that, this would be the number one. But of course, there's a lot of games I played back in the day that today I can't even stand just the thought of playing again, like early Castlevania games or Zelda, Twilight Princess, where just the thought of playing them again is kind of repulsive. But Final Fantasy IV, well, maybe not so much that game, but of course the common gripe against this is how cryptic it is because no bomb walls, which I kind of like. Just doesn't feel as rewarding finding those secrets in newer Zelda games where they're clearly marked. But I already went over that in the playthrough for this game, so yeah. Still one of my favorite games. It's old, definitely, but you know, yeah. So am I. Who am I kidding? Anyways, at number 7, one of the games that I can't even show the title card for, so I don't have any way of capturing that. So yeah. Instead, just play one of the soundtrack pieces, one of the soundtrack songs for Dragon Quest XI, one of my favorite franchises overall. And this, my favorite entry in it. You know, and believe me, I'd do a playthrough of this game if I had a way of capturing Switch footage. This one, several other Switch games, but sadly, I don't have a capture device. So, but yeah, I really like this game. Plus, with the Switch version of the game, the so-called definitive one, you can play in 2D mode or 3D mode, which is kind of weird for. You wouldn't think for me playing a 2D Dragon Quest game would be as weird as it is, since I played all of the original ones as they came out in North America at the time. But for this game, just something about playing this game in a 2D setting. But yeah, I like the characters. Some of them are kind of goofy, but oh well. I think that's what they were intended to be. Just overall, my favorite game in the series so far. I mean, 12 hasn't come out, won't come out for quite a while yet, probably. But so yeah, if I ever do get a capture card for my Switch, this would be one of the first games I do a playthrough of. But until then, moving on to number 6. At number 5, or 6 rather, where I learned to count backwards, of course. But at number 6, a game that was first made in 1992 for the Super Nintendo, but not released here until 1997 on the Sony PlayStation 1. Final Fantasy V. Of course, what you're seeing is the Game Boy Advance remake, which is the version I started doing recorded videos for a couple days ago. Video 1. Second favorite Final Fantasy game. Of course, I probably shouldn't have said that, but like I point out in the first video of the series, and like I mentioned, I think in my Final Fantasy 1 video, 2 videos playthrough, by the time this came out in North America finally in 1999, it was like, really? Another game about crystals. Part 1, Part 3, Part 4, and now 5. You think they used that plot twist enough in those early days of Final Fantasy? Of course, this game has the job class system that Final Fantasy 3 or Dragon Warrior 3 did, which adds so much extra customization for each playthrough. Every time you can try out different job classes or different abilities. The music tracks, most of them are good. Yeah. But again, since I'm currently doing a playthrough of this game, haven't uploaded any of those videos yet, but I'm gonna finish videos series I've already started before I upload any new ones. But anyways, at number 5, oh, where's the sound? What? Okay, there we go. Now, what? Try that again. Recorder blunders. Oh, goody, just what I needed. Right in the middle of a video, too. Yeah. Favorite handheld Zelda? The Minish Cap for the Game Boy Advance. Storyline. Well, what am I doing? Storyline wise, one of the earliest. That's right. This one don't have much of an intro. All right. Of course. There. Yeah. They really make use of the Minish size versus normal size aspect of the game in some of the dungeons, which is kind of cool. It's a linear Zelda game, which I don't really care too much for, but as long as the game is good, I have nothing against linear gaming. So yeah. Why would you stop doing that? Dang it. Wish it would stop that. Alright, moving on. Yeah. Minish Cap, still. The music for the water ice dungeon of the game. One of my favorite music tracks in all of Zelda games. The dungeon itself is okay if you don't mind the typical video game ice mechanics of slipping and sliding all over the place. Yeah. Again, Minish Cap for the Game Boy Advance in January of 05 in North America. Game I play a lot, just wish I'd re-release it, but probably won't anytime soon. So, it is a game I'll be doing a playthrough of sometime in the next few months for my channel, but yeah. Number 4, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Where to begin? Love the fact that they finally brought the Zelda franchise back to its open world exploration roots of the first couple games. Granted, some of those earlier Zelda games still had their limits as to how far you could go with the open world aspects, but they weren't as linear as some of the later games. I mean, again, not that linear Zelda is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, what was the game just before this one? The Minish Cap, yeah. I don't mind linear Zelda when it's done right, but games like Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess to me were not done right. I'm sorry. I mean, I know those are some of the favorite games among so many fans of the Zelda franchise. And you're right to your opinion, don't mind me. Just, I do not share those. In fact, to me, those are two of the worst games in Zelda history, but yeah, that's just me. I just like the aspects of the open world. Go anywhere at any time, pretty much, with a few exceptions. I mean, yeah, I do kind of agree that the game could have used the typical Zelda dungeons, like Spirit Temple or Stone Tower Temple, or less of the shrines, but like I've said before, I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect 10 for 10 game. Every game has something about it that could have been done better. And heck, most of the cases, the developers themselves would agree with that. Things they wish they could have done had they had more time or more finances or bigger staff. Or again, like Dragon Quest XI, this is another game that, as of right now, I couldn't do a playthrough of if I wanted to, since I have no capture device for the Switch. So yeah. But as soon as that changes, this will probably be the first Switch game I do a playthrough of. Anyways, now from here, the next three I talk about a lot, so yeah, probably nothing new. But at number 3 for the Super Nintendo, April 1994, and another game I've already done a playthrough of. And at the start of it, or probably a couple times during that playthrough, I mentioned that this was my third favorite game of all time, and mentioned the two I still rate ahead of it. So, like I said, from here on out, if you've seen my videos, you already know what the top 3 are going to be because of that. But wasn't my first Metroid game. That was the first one back in, well, it came out in '87, but I didn't start playing it until early '88. Been a Metroid fan ever since. Yeah. But this one to me is still the best. I mean, Dread is an okay game, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, maybe it's just nostalgia. All the times I played this game, the fact that I bought a new 3DS just to play this game on Virtual Console. Yeah, I know, kind of lame and pathetic for some people's opinions, buying a whole console just so you could play it. Yeah. But that's just how much I like this game. Of course, again, since I've already done a playthrough of it, not much more I can add as far as what I like about it and don't like about it. Not much more than I can add now that I didn't already mention in that playthrough video. So, moving on to number 2. At number 2, for the for the PlayStation, the PS1, PSX in 1997, Final Fantasy VII, the game that helped popularize RPGs in North America. And like I mentioned in my video of why I can't do a playthrough of this game right now, it was quite ahead of its time graphically, especially for those of us who are used to the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo 16-bit games. To go from that to this, major step up graphically. But like I said in that video, I still laugh when I hear people say that the only reason this game remains such a big success is because of its graphics. With graphics of today making this look obscure and obsolete. And the fact that even at the time, if it was just the graphics that this game had to offer, if the gameplay itself wasn't any good, no one would care. I mean, it's not like anybody's going to sit there playing the game. Oh, look at these graphics, so cutting edge. The rest of the game sucks, but look at these graphics. I don't think so. The game became an all-time staple of video gaming history because the gameplay was good too. The graphics helped, no doubt about that. But to say that it was just the graphics that sold the game, bunk, BS. Anyways, again, I'd love to do a playthrough of this, but right now I gotta figure out what's wrong with OBS Studio Capture program. Like I said in the video earlier. But as soon as I get those issues resolved, I will be doing a playthrough of this game. Guaranteed. But for now, moving on to number 1, which again If you've seen my videos, you should already know what number one is going to be. And at number one, still my favorite game of all time. Yeah, I've already done a playthrough. In fact, it was one of the first games I did a playthrough of for the channel. Rightfully so, since it is my favorite game. And like I said during that series, I don't say that, out of childhood nostalgia, because I was already 26, close to 27 by the time this game even came out in 1998. Hardly a child anymore. It's not because it was my first Zelda game. That was way back with the first one, before Zelda 2 even came out in North America. But no, just something about this game that stood out amongst the other four that were out at the time. The 3D, maybe, I don't know. The music for sure. Some of the best music in not only Zelda history, but in video game history altogether, in my opinion. Kokiri Forest, the Spirit Temple. The gameplay, is good. It's kind of linear, except for the first few dungeons of the adult area. You can basically do it in any order, but again, I don't mind linear Zelda when it's done right. Yeah. Or any linear video game for that matter, not just Zelda, but I mean, I am more of a fan of the open world games like Breath of the Wild, but anyways, I know this probably hasn't been the most entertaining video, just a collection of title cards and a couple soundtrack pieces where I couldn't even show title screens, but just wanted to get this list out just for the heck of it, whether anybody agrees or not. Probably not for the most part. Some people may agree with a few of the ratings, but for the most part, I can see a lot of people more people arguing and saying, "What, you forgot about this game? Are you nuts? You didn't include this game. Are you stupid?" Or well, maybe they won't say stupid, but yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching, and see you next time when I do a video like this for, well, I ain't gonna say for sure something I've been thinking about doing, but do a video like something like this for my favorite video game music or favorite Zelda music. Again, right now, as of right now, that's just a thought I've been having. Whether or not I actually do it, don't necessarily be too optimistic or waiting for that. Just a thought. Yeah. Or a video like this for each of the franchises I really like, more than just a couple games from Zelda, Metroid, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest. My favorite games just within that franchise alone. Again, that's just a thought I've been having. Just stuff I've been thinking about doing beyond just gameplay footage, gameplay series, playthroughs. Even thinking of re-uploading my video game music files from my main music channel over to this one. Since they are video game music, they still fit the gameplay idea. Greg's Retro Gaming. Anyways, see you next time. Thanks for watching as always, and bye. And of course, you can always rate your, list your favorite games or what in the comments. Forgot to mention that. See, I'm such an amateur at doing these videos. What you think of this list? Do you agree or disagree? What games would you put in the top 10 if you'd even given it any thought? Yeah. Anyways, I ramble on, I know. See you next time. Thanks for watching, and bye. For real this time.